Third and final ordinary session of Parliament for the 2020 legislative year opens tomorrow, Thursday, November 12 in Yaoundé. In this newscast, we shall be bringing to you the stakes of the session, which of course will focus principally on the voting and adoption of the 2021 state budget. Also in this newscast, we tell you how lawyers are fuming over the reaction of the forces of law and order at the Bonanjo Court of First Instance. That was yesterday night. Security forces used tear gas to disperse lawyers who were not happy with the verdict of a case that was given by a magistrate. We shall be coming back to that in this edition of the news. And in sports, the Indomitable Lions play in Douala for the first time in 22 years against Mozambique in a crucial game counting for the AFCON 2022 qualifiers. We shall be having a preview and predictions of football fans in this newscast. Those are top stories. Good evening and thanks for joining us. You're watching the Primetime Newscast on STV. Just as we told you in the headlines, members of Parliament and senators converge on Yaoundé tomorrow for the third and final ordinary session for Parliament, counting for the 2020 legislative year. That session opens tomorrow in Yaoundé, though the session is focused principally on the adoption of the state budget for the next year. Other crucial issues could as well be on the plate. of the legislators. A preview with our reporter, Nsoesie.
Expectations are high, hopes are raised, as the deputies look forward to the last upcoming opening ordinary session of the National Assembly, convened for tomorrow, November 12, 2020. The members of Parliament will be meeting again for the third and last ordinary session of the year of the lower house of Parliament. It is worthy to note that this session will be devoted to the examination of the financial resources of the state for the coming year. These resources will have to answer to the many needs addressed by the deputies during the last two sessions, namely the 2020 twin municipal elections, the decentralization projects, the 2021 AFCON project, as well as the plan of action of the President's Greater Opportunity programs, while taking into consideration the global and local economic context, challenges besides the socio-political crisis facing the country. The convocation of the deputies was made this Monday by the President of the Lower House of Parliament, Kavayege Jibril.
Of the structure to host the new National Assembly stands at 12%. This is the outcome of a site inspection visit effected by the committee in charge of the project. Nsoesie has more.
Construction works are currently ongoing at the site that will host the new headquarters building of the National Assembly. According to Ashumbanga Robert, head of the engineer and architects leading the project, he states that the workers live on the site due to the COVID-19 health crisis and for the advancement of the project. He equally presented the construction site to Honorable Theodora Datua and other members of the supervisory committee, all dressed with professional working equipment outfits. The crew worked all through the close to 37,000 square meters of land on which the new National Assembly building is being erected. Ashumbanga Robert equally assures the visitors of the objective of filling the platform to level that will set the building on the hills of Ngwaikele when completed. Launched last year, the project has been delayed for close to 5 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But this notwithstanding, certain strategies have been developed to address these issues. Honorable Theodore Datua, President of the Supervisory Committee, in a press conference that followed this visit, reassured that by December, the new edifice of the Cameroon National Assembly, expected to cost over 54 billion francs CFA, a gift from the Chinese government, will be elevated.
53 past and present workers of some public establishments in the country will appear before the Budget and Financial Disciplinary Committee of the Ministry in charge of Supreme State Audit. Amongst those called to appear before Rose Mba Acha Fomundam, the minister, is the former Deputy Managing Director of the National Shipyard Corporation, Chantier Naval. Also, some lawyers in Douala are presently receiving treatment for wounds sustained in a brawl with security officers last night. Police and gendarmes have used tear gas to disperse irate lawyers at the Bonanjo Court of First Instance, following frowning against the court's decision on two of their colleagues implicated in a controversial matter. A flashback of the event with Josephine Binzi.
This is a cry of more than 300 embittered men and women of the legal corps at the Court of First Instance Douala Bonanjo on the 10th of November 2020 before forces of law and order intervened to calm the atmosphere. Lawyers of the Cameroon Bar Association mobilized in their numbers to stretch an arm of support to two of the accused comrades and advance a request for bail in cognizance and implementation of the Cameroon Criminal Procedure Code, but events turned out sour as firearms and tear gas used on them to better manage the crowd left them dissatisfied. The presiding judge in charge of the case has adjourned the matter to the 25th of November this year for ruling on the application on bail that has been submitted by the defense counsels. Though no deaths have been recorded, a few eyewitnesses and men and women in black robes sustained some injuries following the exoneration of firearms and tear gas.
Joseph Claude Biliga has condemned the use of force by the forces of law and order on lawyers during the brawl at the Court of First Instance in Bonanjo last night. The former executive member of the Cameroon Bar Council, however, says that justice must prevail on the controversial matter involving two of his colleagues. He spoke to our reporter, Josephine Binzi.
The formula is universal. Every lawyer who commits a crime has to be presented to justice.
Seulement, lorsque un avocat, qui est un citoyen comme tous les autres, pose un acte qui est répréhensible,
I would like to say that the law is like any other citizen, and if it does something which is wrong, the least thing to be done by justice is to try him like any other citizen. If he commits a crime like the law specifies that he's supposed to be freed, especially when he presents a guarantee of representation. It can be a homicide or any other crime, but what is important is that anytime he or her present is requested for, they should be present.
Bref, l'essentiel étant qu'on puisse savoir, qu'on puisse s'assurer que lorsque cette personne sera appelée à comparaître, elle sera là.
Whether it is a citizen or a lawyer, the law is expected to be correctly applied. This has not been the case of the two lawyers of the Court of First Instance in Douala on the 10th of November 2020, provoking reactions from his colleagues. What seems very abnormal to Barrister Claude Biliga in this case is a violation of the courtroom by forces of law and order.
Quel que soit ce que les avocats ont pu faire pour protéger leurs confrères, il était hors de question qu'on entre.
Whatever the lawyers did to protect their colleague is out of the scene, but entering the court of justice to throw in tear gas and belittle their personality is not normal. We have to say it as it is because it's not appropriate. I'm not saying lawyers are above the law, but the law has to be applied in a normal and legal way.
Je dis, lorsque la loi s'applique à eux, elle doit s'appliquer à eux d'une manière normale, légale.
The two lawyers arrested in court and defended by their colleagues spent a night in the central prison of Douala.
The Bafor Cooperative Credit Union has been described as a veritable catalyst for development in Kumba and the entire Meme division as a whole. Board members and other stakeholders of the cooperative, amongst them Fon Mukete IV Ekoko, paramount ruler of the Bafors, recently met to chart the way forward for the structure. More in this report.
With the aim of stretching an arm of support to the Bafor community, an extraordinary General Assembly held at Mfon Mukete IV Ekoko's palace, paramount ruler of the Bafors, for the smooth running of the newly created Bafor Credit Union.
Where we need to boost development, and you cannot boost development without resources. And so the Bafor people thought it wise to come together to create this union, because then the credit union makes available credits where those who are business entrepreneurs and oriented to business still will be able to have access. Important for us is the gender issues and youth. It's very dear to our heart, and we know that these two categories of our populace, they tend not to have access to credit. So we have made it in such a way that even the ordinary market buy and sell petty trader can save and can therefore access loan.
A capacity building forum is also made available to better utilize funds to avoid mismanagement.
You don't only get access to credits, but we give you an orientation and an education so that you make good of the loan you are taking. So the loan can be as small as what? 50,000 francs? But the essence is, you know, a lot of time we want loan, but we don't do savings. But if you can be saving, it's a way of guaranteeing that you only not misuse your funds.
The Bafor Credit Union brand has been approved by the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development and has 129 registered members so far. It is expected to be one of the fastest growing microfinances in the country, while being of enormous aid to the Bafor community from the Meme division and across Cameroon.
Moral decadence is growing in schools across the country at a disturbing rate. A case in point is the abominable discovery of 9 students in sexual acts and drugs. Crystal Asexuele saw the views of some parents on the issue and now reports.
Social media networks are widely echoing this day, November 11, 8 students, of which 5 girls and 3 boys, surprised in a school at Makepemisoke in the Douala 5 municipality, unconscious, drunk, and others naked. Moral decadence is becoming very common in school milieus lately, which sometimes look like a horror movie. We remember the student stabbed by his classmate at Daido High School in Douala, the teacher killed by his students at Colbison High School in Yaoundé, and this phenomenon of multiple group sex acts in various public and private institutions in Cameroon. There are so many things to revisit on the children of nowadays education. During our days, there were limits which we were not supposed to cross, and we respected to the letter all instructions given to us by our parents. We even looked at our parents like demigods. But today, things are very different. I don't know if it's the advent of new technologies that is the cause of this moral decadence.
Est-ce la multitude d'outils, par exemple, TIC? Oui.
The consumption of alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, and group sex. What can explain this decline of moral principles among young people? This observation makes parents torn between what to do to preserve their offsprings from this immoral act.
déjà des histoires de déviance. On essaye de prévenir à distance pour que ça ne touche pas nos propres enfants.
Parents have to be able to regulate at home the usage of these new technologies, and the parents have to explain and guide the children on what is good and bad, because that's how I guard my own.
C'est un comportement que nous vivons là dehors. Oui, parce que on essayait quand même de les recadrer à chaque fois. On pouvait visionner.
Valuable advice that can be used. A word to a wise is sufficient.
Out of the country, President-elect Joe Biden has dismissed the Trump administration's refusal to begin the official transition process, even as key Republican Party leaders side with President Donald Trump in his uphill legal fight to overturn Biden's projected election victory. We have details with our partners of the VOA.
I wanted really to congratulate you and congratulate Kamala Harris for this election.
I really congratulate President-elect Biden and Kamala Harris.
World leaders, including British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and French President Emmanuel Macron, congratulated Joe Biden on his projected victory. But domestically, it's a different story.
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
The nation's top diplomat, Mike Pompeo, refused to accept the election result, repeating President Donald Trump's call to count only the legal votes, a term he used to advance his so far baseless allegations that Democrats stole the election.
There is no evidence of any of the assertions made by the President or Secretary of State Pompeo. Secretary of State Pompeo.
On Tuesday, Biden characterized Trump's refusal to concede as an embarrassment, but largely dismissed it.
The fact that they're not willing to acknowledge we won at this point is not of much consequence in our planning and what we're able to do between now and January 20th.
Only a handful of Republican senators have congratulated Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris, as has President George W. Bush, the last Republican president. But party leaders are siding with Trump.
President Trump is 100% within his rights to look into allegations of irregularities and weigh his legal options.
Most Republicans privately acknowledge that Biden will be the next president, but are unwilling to challenge Trump, said Republican strategist Rob Stutzman.
Well, the political calculation is you don't want to get on the crosswise with Donald Trump, who could just in one tweet, turn the ire of about half the Republican Party upon you. Nobody wants that headache.
Construction has already begun for the inauguration on January 20th, but the formal transition process does not start until the Trump-appointed administrator of the Federal General Services Administration announces it. So far, she hasn't. Without the cooperation of the outgoing administration, former Vice President Biden's decades of political experience will be key.
He is very familiar with the White House and the bureaucracy of the executive branch and how it operates. So he will have set up this transition team, which will all be experienced Washington hands.
On Tuesday, the Biden team released the names of people who will review each government agency to help ensure a smooth transfer of power. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News.
Let's talk sports football. The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon are set to clash with Mozambique at the Reunification Stadium in Douala tomorrow. It will be the first game played in Douala in 22 years. Though Cameroon has a better win ratio over their rivals, the game, however, is crucial as to who makes a big push for a ticket in the AFCON 2022 competition. A preview of the game with Oni Ladonet.
The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon are all geared up for the third day of the AFCON qualifiers match against the OS Mambas of Mozambique. With all the players called up by the head coach present, the boys of Conceição are hoping to claim a win after playing a draw match against Cape Verde and gaining a 1-0 victory against Rwanda. Mozambique is leading the Group F with 4 points and 4 goals, followed by the Cameroon football team with 1 goal and 4 points. The match scheduled on Thursday will be the fifth encounter between the indomitable Lion squad and the OS members of Mozambique, as they have met 4 times in the past. On their 4 last encounters, the Mozambique team has bowed down to the Lions 3 times, winning just 1 match. With both teams having the hunger for victory, a win for Mozambique would not only add up to its victory against the untamable Lions, but also give them a big push towards qualifying for the 2022 African Nations Cup for the 5th time.
Football fans in the economic capital Douala have shown their support behind the indomitable Lions as they face Mozambique on Thursday. They are however disappointed that they will be forced to watch the game away from the stadium despite the Lions playing for the first time in 22 years in the city. Only Ladonet again.
Cameroonians in the city of Douala have crowned the indomitable Lions winner ahead of their encounter with Mozambique come Thursday, November 12, 2020.
I wish the Lions the best of luck. My predictions are 2-0 in favor of Cameroon. 2 goals to 0 in favor of Cameroon. I'm a huge supporter of the Lions. The Lions will win 2 goals to 0. For the match tomorrow, Cameroon's victory is certain. The Lions will win 3 goals to 1.
With more than 20 years since the last indomitable Lions match was played in Douala, these inhabitants expressed dissatisfaction of not being able to support the Lions live.
My headaches, we have waited for 22 years and now we cannot support our team. It's aching to know that I won't want the Lions to play live. We feel bad that the match will be played behind closed doors.
With the constraint imposed by the COVID-19 health crisis, the match will be followed live on TV.
C'est tout à fait normal vu la conjoncture du coronavirus.
It's but normal due to the COVID-19. We will watch it live on TV.
On espère que vous allez diffuser. Est-ce qu'il va diffuser? Nous allons suivre.
The away leg will be played on November 16 at Maputo in Mozambique.
And that does it for the primetime newscast on STV. Thank you very much for watching. More news comes up at 8 p.m. in the French language. From the entire team in Douala, bye-bye.